What is going on, my fellow Queens Bus riders? As a lot of you may or may not know, Phase 1 of the Queens Bus Network redesign will officially go into effect this Sunday, June 29th. For those that live in Queens or often travel to Queens and you heavily depend on the bus, it could be a possibility that the routes that you take could be changing. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining what you need to know for the upcoming redesign. The Queens Bus Network redesign is a project that is run by the MTA, and where their goal is to completely modernize the entire bus system in the New York City borough of Queens. As part of this project, the bus routes would have more reliable service, have less stops, and would provide faster service. While some routes are getting some slight minor adjustments here and there, some routes will be eliminated, some routes will be brand new, and some routes will not be touched at all completely. We'll discuss that more later in the video. A new type of route variant called rush routes will be introduced as part of the Queens Bus redesign. These routes make very limited stops along major bus corridors or roads where multiple bus routes serve. Some examples of this would be Hillside Avenue, Merrick Avenue, and Main Street in Flushing. These routes will typically run during the AM and PM or off-peak hours, depending on what route it is. As part of the redesign, the routes that will be discontinued are the Q15A, Q20B, Q21, Q34, and QM3. The Q20A will be relabeled to the Q20, and as for the Q48, this one is a bit of an interesting one, because the Q48 will be relabeled to the Q90, and will have a slight reroute to get from Flushing to LaGuardia Airport. More on that later. And the reason why the Q48 is being relabeled to the Q90 is because a certain section of the Q46, where it operates from Kew Gardens Union Turnpike Station all the way to Glen Oaks 260th Street, will be relabeled to the Q48. So the Q48 route labeling is still going to be used, but it's not going to be known as the route that goes from Flushing to LaGuardia Airport anymore. And as for the X63, X64, and X68, all three of these routes will be relabeled to the QM63, QM64, and QM68. As you can see, the MTA is slowly starting to phase out the X variant that is used in express routes. They've been doing this ever since they began their Staten Island Express Bus Network redesign, which happened back in August of 2018. So that's a little fun trivia fact. That's also the reason why you hardly see X-labeled routes anymore out there in New York City. Other than Queens, the only borough that's going to have those routes are Brooklyn with the X27, X28, X37, and X38. But anyways, enough talk on Brooklyn, let's get back to Queens. Now here's what I assume to be everybody's most favorite part of the video, and it's a good thing I decided to save the best part for last, and that being the new bus routes. So as part of the Queens Bus redesign, they will be introducing a few new routes, and those being the Q14, Q45, Q51, Q61, Q63, Q74, Q75, Q80, Q82, Q86, Q87, Q89, Q98, Q115, and QM65. And a little fun fact about one of these routes, being the QM65, it will be operating from Laurelton all the way to downtown. So that's the first ever time a Queens Express route that serves the southeastern part of Queens serves downtown. Pretty cool, isn't it? And as you can see, some of these route labels might sound a little familiar to y'all. Notably, the Q14, Q74, Q75, and Q89. These routes were bus routes that were discontinued during the 2010 budget cuts that the MTA had to phase through. Yeah, during the 2010 budget cuts, a lot of bus routes and some train lines like the V line have been discontinued, mostly because the MTA was dealing with some bad budget cuts at the time. And as for the Q45, this is the first time in 14 years that this route label is being used again, because the original Q45 was I don't view it to be discontinued, but the original Q45 was merged with the Q47 to form an extended version of it back in September of 2011. Pretty cool, isn't it? But let me know in the comments, what routes are you looking forward to? Whether it's a new route or a current route that is getting changed or whatever. Let me know. If you're not sure when your bus routes will be changing, not to worry, because I've provided a list over here of when all the bus routes in Queens will be changing. All the routes that are labeled in green will be changing during Phase 1, which starts this Sunday, June 29th. And for the routes in purple, they will be changing during Phase 2, which starts on August 31st. And the routes in pink, they will be discontinued, except for the Q48, because like we discussed earlier, the current Q48, by the time we're recording this video, which goes from Flushing to LaGuardia Airport, will be relabeled to the Q90. And the Q48 will be used for another route, pretty much. Some of you may have not noticed this, but the B57 and B62 are mentioned on this list. And as part of the redesign, some parts of these routes will be changing. For one thing, some stops in Queens along the B57 will be changed, and as for the B62, this one has a bit of a major change. So the B62 will no longer serve Long Island City by like Jackson Avenue. It's still going to serve Long Island City, but the thing is, it's going to be extended, where it's going to operate along 21st Street, and it's going to make its last stop in Astoria, where the Q18, Q19, Q102, and Q103 make their last stop. In my opinion, I find this to be a bit odd, but I just want to see how this plays out. What do you think of the B62 extension? Do you think it should have happened or not? Let me know in the comments. Notice how only 3 bus routes as part of the redesign will not be changed entirely, and those routes being the Q44 Select Bus Service, Q53 Select Bus Service, and the LaGuardia Link Q70 Select Bus Service. Those routes I just mentioned will not be changing at all. No stops will be changed, the routes will not be adjusted, none of that. But the Q52 Select Bus Service will be the only SPS route in Queens that will be adjusted, because it's getting a new bus stop down over in the Rockaways. You may have to look at this map over here to see what I'm talking about. As many routes get changed in the redesign, some routes will be switching to new bus depots. Like, for example, you know how you'd always see these old-looking buses on the Q28? Which they're called Orion 7 Next Generation Hybrids, for those watching this video who are not transit fans. Well, after the redesign, you'll no longer get to see those buses operating on the Q28. It's not because that they're retiring, well, they are retiring, but just at a slow pace right now. But you won't get to see them anymore because, for example, the Q28 will be transferring to a new bus depot. So currently, the Q28 is currently based out of Casey Stengel Depot, which is right across the street from Citi Field, fun fact. But once the redesign hits, it will be transferring over to a bus depot called College Point Depot, which operates these buses right here, routes like the Q34. But you've definitely seen these buses around if you ride like the 19, 23, 25, and all them good routes. For the next topic, I'm going to be discussing about bus depots. Bus depots is where they store buses, of course, and they operate certain bus routes. Like for example, the Q18 bus route is operated out of LaGuardia Depot, the Q27 is operated out of Queens Village Depot, and the Q60 is operated out of JFK Depot. Like, you get what I'm saying? Now, as part of the Queens bus redesign, although majority of bus routes are going to be staying at whatever depot they come out of, some routes will be transferring to a new depot, and some new routes will be operated out of this depot right here. So we're gonna go over every single bus depot in Queens that is gonna be getting new routes, getting routes eliminated, or some routes are not even gonna change at all. And we're gonna start off with Baisley Park Depot and make our way up to all the other depots. First up on the list is Baisley Park Depot, located in South Jamaica, Queens. The routes that this depot will be operating post-redesign are the Q51 Limited, Q110, Q111 Rush, Q112, Q113 Limited, Q114 Rush, Q115, and Q121. The new bus routes that this depot will be getting are the Q51 and Q115, and as you can see, they have given up the Q64 for College Point Depot, which we'll get on later in the video. Next up on the list is Casey Stengel Depot, located in Flushing, Queens. Fun fact, this depot is located right next to the MTA's Corona Subway Yard, which is home of the 7 train. Not only that, but both of these facilities are located right across the street from Citi Field, home of the Mets. Let's go Mets. The routes that this depot will be operating post-redesign are the Q12, Q13 Rush, Q15, Q16, Q20, Q31, Q38, Q44 Select Bus Service, Q58, Q61 Limited, Q76, Q90 Limited, and Q98 Limited. The routes that this depot will no longer operate are the Q15A, Q20A, Q20B, Q26, Q28, Q32, and Q48. The Q15A will be replaced entirely by the Q15. The Q20A will just be relabeled to the Q20 and will have a slight reroute in Jamaica. As for the Q20B, its 14th Avenue section in College Point will be replaced by the Q76. And as for the Q26 and Q28, these routes will be transferred over to College Point Depot. For the Q32, it will be transferred over to LaGuardia Depot. And as for the Q48, this one's a bit of an interesting one because, as mentioned earlier in the video, the Q48 will be relabeled to the Q90, which will go to LaGuardia Airport, although the Q48 route labeling is still going to be used, it's going to be used for a new route, which will operate from Kew Gardens Union Turnpike Station all the way to Glen Oaks. It's basically going to be the Glen Oaks portion of the Q46 now. The new routes that this depot will be receiving are the Q38 from College Point Depot, the Q58 from Fresh Pond Depot, the Q61 Limited, which is a brand new route, and the Q98 Limited, which is also a brand new route. The next depot on this list is College Point Depot, and as the name suggests, it is located in College Point, Queens. Fun fact, this depot is the largest bus depot in the entire MTA system and houses a total of over 330 buses. The routes that this depot will operate post-redesign is the Q25, Q26, Q28 Rush, Q63 Rush, Q64, Q65, Q66, Q74 Limited, and as for express routes, they're going to operate the QM1, QM2, QM4, QM5, QM6, QM7, QM8, QM10, QM11, QM12, QM20, QM31, QM32, QM35, QM36, QM40, QM42, and QM44. The routes that this depot will no longer operate are the Q19, Q23, Q34, Q38, and QM3. The Q19 and Q23 have been transferred to LaGuardia Depot, while the Q38 has been transferred to Casey Stengel Depot. And as for the Q34 and QM3, these routes will be discontinued. The new routes that this depot will be operating are the Q26 and Q28 from Casey Stengel Depot, the Q64 from Baisley Park Depot, and the Q63 and Q74, which are brand new routes made from scratch. Up next is Far Rockaway Depot, located in Arverne, Queens. The routes that this depot will operate post-redesign are the Q11, Q22, Q35 Rush, and Q41. As for express routes, they'll be operating the QM15, QM16, QM17, and QM18. Although Far Rockaway Depot will not be gaining any new routes, they will be losing one route, and that route being the Q21, as it will be discontinued during Phase 2 of the Queens Bus redesign, which officially goes into effect on August 31st. Parts of the Q21 will be replaced entirely by the Q11. Up next on the list is Jamaica Depot, and where, as the name suggests, is located in Jamaica, Queens. The routes that this depot will be operating post-redesign are the Q3, Q4 Rush, Q5, Q17, Q30 Rush, Q42, Q77 Rush, Q84 Rush, Q85 Rush, Q86 Rush, Q87 Rush, and Q89 Rush. Jamaica Depot will not be losing any routes, but they will be gaining some new routes, and those routes being the Q86, Q87, and Q89. Next is JFK Depot, located in Springfield Gardens, Queens, right next to John F. Kennedy International Airport. The routes that this depot will be operating post-redesign are the Q6, Q7, Q8, Q9 Rush, Q10 Rush, Q37, Q40 Rush, Q52 Select Bus Service, Q60, Q80, and QM65. Although JFK will not be losing any routes, they will be gaining two new routes being the Q80 and QM65. Next up on the list is LaGuardia Depot, located in East Elmhurst, Queens, right next to LaGuardia Airport. The routes that this depot will be operating post-redesign are the Q18, Q19, Q23, Q32, Q33, Q47, Q49, Q53 Select Bus Service, Q69, the LaGuardia Link Q70 Select Bus Service, Q72, Q100 Limited, Q101, Q102, Q103, and Q104. As for express routes, they have the QM24, QM25, and QM34. The new routes that this depot will be gaining are the Q19 and Q23 from College Point Depot and the Q32 from Casey Stengel Depot. The routes that this depot will be losing are the Q29, Q39, and Q67, as all three of these bus routes will be transferred to Grand Avenue Depot in the Brooklyn Division. And finally, for the Queens Division depots, we have Queens Village Depot, which, as the name suggests, is located in Queens Village in Queens. Fun fact, Queens Village Depot is located right next to UBS Arena, which is home of the New York Islanders. The routes that this depot will be operating post-redesign are the Q1, Q2 Rush, Q27 Rush, Q36 Rush, Q43 Rush, Q45, Q46 Rush, Q48 Rush, Q75 Rush, Q82 Rush, Q83, and Q88. And as for express routes, they'll be operating the QM63, QM64, and QM68. Although Queens Village did not lose any routes, they did gain some new routes, being the Q45, Q48, Q75, and Q82. Now, when I say Q48, I'm not talking about the fact that Queens Village Depot operates the Q48 route that goes from Flushing to LaGuardia Airport, as that route, or should I say the OG Q48, has been relabeled to the Q90. This new Q48 right here will operate from Kew Gardens to Glen Oaks, basically a relabel of the former Glen Oaks portion of the Q46. All three of their express bus routes have been relabeled from X63, X64, and X68 to QM63, QM64, and QM68. And with that being said, there will no longer be any express bus routes in Queens that use the X prefix in their name. And finally, we have bus depots from the outer boroughs that also operate Queens bus routes. First up on the list is East New York Depot, in which, as the name suggests, is located in East New York, Brooklyn. The routes that this depot operates from Queens are the Q24 and Q56, and this depot will continue to operate these two routes even after the redesign takes effect. Next up on the list is Fresh Pond Depot, located in Ridgewood, Queens, and is part of the Brooklyn Bus Division. The routes that this depot will operate post-redesign are the Q14, Q54, Q55, B47, and B60. The new routes that this depot will be gaining are the Q14, B47, and B60. The Q14 is a brand new route that is made from scratch, and some of you guys might be wondering, why on earth am I mentioning the B47 and B60 when they're clearly Brooklyn routes and they don't even touch Queens? Well, yes, that is a good point, but the reason why I'm mentioning the B47 and B60 is because it has to do with Fresh Pond losing the Q58 to Casey Stengel Depot. Because of Fresh Pond Depot losing the Q58 and sending it over to Casey Stengel Depot, there would have been a lot of extra spare buses at Fresh Pond Depot. So as a result, the B47 and B60 will be transferred to Fresh Pond Depot to basically replace those missing runs that Fresh Pond will lose from operating the Q58. Next up on the list is Grand Avenue Depot, located in Maspeth, Queens, and is part of the Brooklyn Division. The routes that this depot will operate post-redesign are the Q29, Q39, Q59, Q67, B57, and B62. The new routes that Grand Avenue Depot will be operating are the Q29, Q39, and Q67, and where all three of these bus routes will be transferred from LaGuardia Depot. Now, a lot of people haven't really talked about this, but the B57 and B62 will in fact be changing as part of the Queens Bus redesign. For one thing, there will be no route changes to the B57, but there will be some minor stop changes in the Queens part of the B57. While as for the B62, that route will be getting a major route change in Queens. It will still serve Long Island City, Queens Plaza, but it's just, it will no longer be operating along Jackson Avenue, as it will be operating along 21st Street, and it will operate all the way up to Astoria in Queens, and it will terminate at 27th Avenue and 2nd Avenue. It will be terminating at the first and last stop for routes such as the Q18, Q19, Q102, and Q103. And last but not least, we have Eastchester Depot, in where, as the name suggests, is located in Eastchester in the Bronx, right next to the I-95, and is located slightly north of Co-op City in the Bronx. Now, this is the only Bronx depot to operate a Queens route, and the only Queens route it operates is the Q50 Limited. Now, for the Q50, this is a bit of an interesting one because this route will be the only route, for now at least I would say, the Q50 will be the only route that will be changed during two bus network redesigns. The first time it got changed was during the Bronx Bus Network redesign, which went into effect on June 26, 2022. As part of the Bronx Bus redesign, the Q50 was changed to where it would only operate up to Co-op City during rush hours, where during off-peak hours, it would terminate at Pelham Bay Station for the 6th subway train. But now, as part of the Queens Bus redesign, the Q50 will finally be operating 24/7. Now, obviously, I didn't get to mention literally every single route change that'll be happening in the Queens Bus redesign, as this video would probably be over 2 to 3 hours long, and I know some of you can't handle sitting that long watching this one video, which I completely get it. But if you guys would like to see whether your routes got changed, whether some parts of the routing got changed, the routing got changed entirely, your bus stop got either removed or relocated or something like that, whether one of your routes got discontinued or if you got a new bus route, you can check it out in the top link in the comments. For those who live in Queens and heavily rely on the bus, and for those who often travel into Queens and you heavily rely on the bus as well for whatever it is, I certainly wish you guys the best of luck for the redesign, because I know damn well for the first few days it's gonna be pretty chaotic, so I'd certainly wish you guys the best of luck. Hopefully a lot of you will get adjusted quickly. Even me, I still have to get adjusted to a lot of things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and yeah, see you guys around.